Wake up, Jacob, Israelite prepper. So I'm searching in my downtime, and look what I find. I see an article, and it's actually from Forbes from a couple of years ago. But I read the article, and the writer of the article seems a little upset. I don't know what's going on. He just seems a little upset. Not very happy. He thinks that homesteaders or people who seek after self-reliance, he believes that they are delusional. So let's look a little bit at this article and see what we can get from it. Okay. Now, it is from a couple of years ago, and it's from Adam Ozimek, right? Adam Ozimek, right? And it says, I'm a big fan of the shows about doomsday preppers, homesteaders, survivalists, generally people who live off the grid. Me too. Some of my favorites are Homestead Rescue and Live Free or Die. I agree. Jay Ontario, Frank Stockton, shalom, shalom, brothers. Shalom, shalom. Just read a little article here. And it says some of my favorites are Homestead Rescue and Live Free or Die. But there's a central delusion in these shows that is never far from my mind when I'm watching these shows. Off the grid people are not self-reliant, but instead are mooching off the civil society, government, and safety net the rest of us contribute to. Okay. The people in these shows often describe a very romantic vision of the lives they have chosen, the ethos underlying it. They describe themselves as fully self-reliant and criticize the rest of society as being dependent and lacking in this self-reliance. It is morally superior, the story goes, to provide more for yourself, take care of your own needs, and often be prepared to survive if society collapses. A stated or assumed claim is that specialization and gains from trade are a failing rather than an integral part of prosperity. It's true that these individuals don't appear to value many goods and services beyond relatively basic substances. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. I got a little itchy there. But most off-the-grid households do benefit to some extent from cheap secondhand tools, guns, clothes, or inputs to basic home production that specialization gains from trade and the modern economy made easily affordable. Okay, so he's basically saying that they're not completely self-reliant as they claim. That's what they're trying to say, right? He said, but put those material goods aside, and let's accept that the consumer gains from a prosperous society don't matter much to them. Okay, well, material gains. Let's accept that the consumer gains from a prosperous society don't matter much to them. Even if this is true, that they don't benefit from the wide variety of inexpensive goods and services available from society, they nevertheless benefit tremendously from society. I can't disagree with that. Yeah, well, of course you benefit tremendously from a society, from a functioning society, right? You do need things, right? But, let's see what else he says. The first example that I think about when watching these shows is the safety net of the modern medical treatment. On Live Free or Die, a man in his mid-60s named Colbert lives in the Georgia swamps alone. He does some trapping and trades the furs for money that he uses to buy some supplies, and on the self-reliance scale, ranks pretty highly. But I always wonder what will happen if he slips and falls and can no longer provide for himself. He'll likely end up receiving hospital treatment paid for with Medicare, and perhaps end up in an assisted living center paid for by Medicare as well. Okay, I mean, he has a point there, if he needs help in that. In fairness to Colbert, he lived a long life in a regular, high-paying financial job. So while the rest of his non-savings lifestyle may be borne by society, he has paid into the system substantially. The same cannot be said of many other homesteaders. Although, based on his GoFundMe campaign, yes, that's right, his self-reliance has hit a limit already. Another example from Live Free or Die is Tony and Amelia, a couple who live on a simple off-the-grid homestead in North Carolina. When I watched them, I wondered what would happen if one became extremely sick, and simple off-the-grid home medicine couldn't treat them. Would they say we've chosen our fate and now we die by it, or would they seek treatment in a hospital they couldn't afford, which would be covered by the hospital's charity care or perhaps Medicaid? Okay, so basically, what he's doing is he's trying to shoot holes in this whole idea of being self-reliant, off the grid, stuff like that. He's basically trying to paint the picture that, hey, you're not as self-reliant as you claim you are. You're not quite self-reliant because you still need something from the system, like for instance, medical aid, right? Yeah, for the major stuff, yeah, you probably would need medical aid if you are in a really bad accident, if you break something and stuff like that. I mean, obviously survivalists, they know basic stuff, basic first aid, basic life support, things like that. You get into some communities, I mean, there's some communities have nurses and straight up doctors in some of those communities. And of course, you do need facilities to help people, proper facilities to help people and things like that. And most off-gridders and things, they don't have that. I understand that. But we're going to talk about this whole idea of being, off-gridding and come out of her and stuff like that. We're going to talk about this idea in just a second. Let's get a little bit more of the article. If we all live self-reliant lives like Tony often implores us, spending most of our time on basic agricultural subsistence, then modern hospitals couldn't exist. Not exactly. I think you can always need a hospital. It's only because most of us choose to not live agrarian, self-reliant lifestyles that this care would be available to Tony, Amelia, and perhaps someday their children. And what if both of them become too injured to work the land anymore? Would they starve to death, or would they survive off of the social safety net our government provides, like food stamps, stuff like that? Okay, yeah, in a real situation. Now, again, in a economic collapse, in a hit the shan situation, I mean, the hospital's not going to operate like they normally operate, right? It's just not going to be the normal come in, fill out your paperwork, where's your insurance stuff. I mean, if all hell's breaking loose, it's not going to be the normal things that we do today, right? So everyone's going to be in a bad situation when that happens. But okay, I get what he's saying to an extent. Okay. In fairness to Tony, Amelia, and Cobra, perhaps they would refuse the modern medical care and modest safety net in the case of an accident or illness, and would simply choose to die. I don't think most homesteaders would, but we don't know yet. Even if one refuses help and care, however, they still benefit from the modern civil society thanks to the private property protections, rule of law, and military that provides them with safety and security. No one is shunning that. This is where I think he goes left, because we like the homestead or whatever. Like, we don't like property protection and the rule of law. We like the rule of law because that keeps bandits and looters from coming to our property now, okay? But when there is no rule of law, then that is not in place. They're going to have martial law when there is no rule of law. They're going to have just martial law, and everybody's just be locked down, right? Everyone's going to have these curfews and lockdown stuff like that. So I think he's going a little bit. He said, however, they still have the benefit of modern civil society thanks to private property protection. Okay, yes, rule of law, and military that provides them with safety and security. Yeah, military is helping us against foreign invaders right now. But in martial law, the military is against you. It's not for you. They're for us now, but they are against us at that point. Shalom, shalom, brother Ronnie Rainier. Shalom, shalom. So just kind of breaking down this article a little bit. This guy is very critical of homesteaders or self-reliant folks. Continuing with the article, and it's from Forbes, actually. Many off-the-grid folks like to fantasize that their personal firearms collection and self-defense skills are actually why they are safe. But how far would this take them in a society without the rule of law? It's not for while there is a rule of law. All that comes into play when there is no rule of law. Okay, hopefully you don't want to have to do that when everything's in peace and calm. How far would he without the rule of law and effective government and law enforcement? That's when everything's fine. When everything's fine, you don't need. Anyway, I guess he's not getting it. The homesteader who is confident their security is in their own hands should go live off the grid in Syria and find out how far self-protection takes them. Okay, so the guy is missing the whole point. Shalom, shalom, Kimberly Wells. Shalom, shalom. I think the guy's missing the whole point, okay? No off-gridders, we don't say, okay, you know what, I'm going to pick up and move to Syria right now, okay? That's where I want to be. I want to be in Syria. No one's saying that. Nobody. I don't know anybody who's saying that. Nobody's saying that. Okay. I know there's some people who want to get up and go to Africa, but that's not Syria. Okay. So that no one is saying that. As far as protection, yes, you do need protection and stuff, and yes, it is only effective because everything, because the rule of law is intact. Okay. I didn't say it's good, but the rule of law is intact. Right. We're all abiding by the rule of law right now. Okay. But I'm talking about when that failed, off-gridders and homesteaders and all that, they are preparing for when those things don't work, when those things are no longer in place, when we are living in a world without the rule of law. Okay, so I think he's missing that right now. He's going to Syria where it don't have, the rule of law too good. He's taking you out of the comfort. I think he's totally missing it, guys. I don't know what you think. I think he's kind of missing it. And it's not just police and military that keep homesteaders safe. It says not just police that keep homesteaders safe. It's also widespread prosperity. In the developed world, a basic education is available to all, and most people who want a job can find one. Living in a prosperous modern economy means that homesteaders can take a good bit of their own safety from violence for granted, and roving bandits are not likely to take their homes from them. I know, when everything is fine, you don't worry about that. You got to worry about that when things are not fine. Yeah, he's a little... Okay, let's read a little bit more. Self-reliance is, for the most part, a myth. Wow, it's a myth. Unless they live in an extremely remote region, use all homemade tools, and will refuse the safety net if they need it. Most homesteaders are far from self-reliant. To the few homesteaders who have achieved true self-reliance, I congratulate them. Seems like a hard life, but to each his own. But most homesteaders and off-grid types benefit from cheap goods and services, access to modern healthcare in emergency, safety, and the rule of law. Living off the grid is a fine lifestyle choice, but instead of an air of superiority, homesteaders should be appreciative of the benefits received from living in a modern society. That is the end of his article. Like I said, it comes from Forbes, and guys, my goodness, just a little bit arrogant there, just a little bit. Okay, let's look at it. He's saying it's not a big deal, being an off-gridder, a homesteader, stuff like that. It's no big deal. It's not really as safe as they think it is, and blah blah blah. So he's doing that. Okay, guys. Homesteaders and off-gridders, they do it. One of the reasons, okay, I'm not speaking for all, but one of the reasons that they do it is just in case you end up in a society that is broken. Is just in case it is broken. Most homesteaders don't want the society to collapse. They just think it might. They don't want it to, okay? They do not want it to collapse. So they prepare just in case it collapses. Just in case, right? So that's not what they want. That's not what they're going for. Okay, so that's one of the things that he has wrong. All right, now coming out of her and stuff like that. Now he made a couple of points. Now coming out of her and really coming out and being separate means you don't benefit from society at all. So if you want an absolute 100%, you don't get any kind of government funding, government assistance, anything like that. You don't use tied to the quite difficult, right? It's really difficult. But you can come out to an extent, okay? So I'll just put it like that. You can come out to an extent, right? To where you're less dependent on society and less dependent on the government, less dependent on these things. You may not be 100%, independent of all of this infrastructure, and you got to move. You got to get out of the country to be completely off this, but you can't get on the assistance of any other country either, right? That's 100%. Most 99% of the people can't do that. I mean, you got to be in the rainforest somewhere where it's unclaimed government land, and you just set up shop there, and you're just surviving. You're on the island. You're like Tom Hanks, and Wilson. That's off everything, right? You gotta, in that movie. So you gotta do stuff like that. I mean, but most people can't do that. Most people cannot do that. So him saying that, you know, the rule of law is around, the military's around, and police is around for safety and all that. Yeah, we understand that. Homesteaders and off-gridders, they prepare just in case all those things go to pot. And I think that's what this writer is missing. He's missing the whole thing. No one's saying, hey, you know, I'm an off-gridder, you know, it's the best thing since sliced bread, and you know, you just it's the only way. It's not, it's preparing. It's like, okay, you know what, if something happens, I still want to be able to function. That's why people are doing it. That's why it's happening. If something goes down, it's the end of the world as we know it. I want to be able to function. I want to be able to survive. I want to be able to eat. You know, that's what it's really coming down to. That's what it's all about. So I think the author was completely missing it in that realm. Let me go see what you guys talking about before I let you guys go. I want to share that article with you guys. Let's see what we got here. I got to go to my phone so I can check the comments. See what we have. Yeah, I totally think he missed it, because he's like, oh, well, you know, you guys are benefiting, you know, these homesteaders and off-gridders are benefiting from, you know, modern society. Of course, we have to. We got to eat, you know, we have to. So let's take a look real quick. Brother Frank Stockton, he said, I was in the military and I have worked for quite a while. So I feel that if I can't fix it, then yes, I'm going to the hospital, the VA. Okay, good. I plan on getting homestead insurance for protection. Absolutely, nothing wrong with that. Okay. Said of my seeds, and then he said, and that's why you have communities and tribes when people get sick or ill. Villages raises a family. Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I was saying earlier. I mean, sometimes people don't know what some of these communities and these mags are made of. You got nurses and doctors and people who know paramedics, and you all these people, you know, are part of some of these groups and communities, you know, who can get the job done. Some people are building structures on the homestead that are fit for, you know, basic, you know, medical type things, because these people have experience, you know. You get some of these doctors and some of these, you know, paramedics and some of these nurses and stuff like that in these communities, you're not doing too bad. You're not doing too bad. So just wanted to share that article with you guys. I appreciate you guys joining me again. Jay Ontario, Shalom, Frank Stockton, Jay Card 3, Ronnie Rayner, Kimberly Wells. I appreciate all you guys. I just popped up in there. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You never know when I just pop something in there. When I get a little bit of downtime, I'll jump on, share something with you guys. And I got some plans for a couple of video ideas, you know, for the future. You know, right now I'm just kind of in transition. That's why you see me in cars. I'm in strange places and stuff like that while I transition. But once I get settled in or whatever, I do have some ideas, get back into, you know, the production of the videos and stuff. I don't have the time or the space right now to, you know, have a nice little backdrop and put little things on the screen and stuff like that. I don't have that right now. You know, you see, I don't even have my intro trailer, you know. Well, I have it, but I don't have time to really, you know, mess with it like that and do some editing, some of the, you know, fun stuff for some people anyway. Don't have time to do that, but I do plan on getting back to that. I want to give you guys some produced videos because I do enjoy that and put that out there. So, you know, just trying to propel the channel in another direction. Focusing on things of homesteading, as always, and focusing on things that impacts our community, that impacts, you know, people of the book, that impacts Hebrews, that impacts, you know, Israelites, things like that. I want to talk about some things. But until next time, and next time is going to be tomorrow, so we will have the live stream tomorrow. From where I am is about noon. If you guys are out, and I'm out west basically, and you guys are, you know, Midwest and East and all that, so probably 1, 2 o'clock for you guys. But if you're out west, it'll be around noon or something like that. So I will have a little live stream. Join me right here. Tell somebody, share it with someone. Let's talk. Let's chop it up. Let's talk about tomorrow. You know, just kind of stopping the madness. You know, all Hebrew Israelites, are they the same? You know, what's the difference? You know, just things like that. The difference between Hebrews and Christians and stuff like that. Let's just kind of chop it up a little bit tomorrow, okay? So join me tomorrow. Tell somebody, share with at least one person. Let's get it going. And, you know, like I said, I got some ideas for some other things I want to do with the channel, and I'm gonna share it with you guys as we go along. So until next time, wake up, Jacob, Israelite Prepper.